Josh Davis, Marketing Director of InfoSystems. This is Business and Technology in Tennessee, a podcast from InfoSystems. This is episode number 8, and we're on site today at the Chattanooga Public Library. They have a fantastic studio space here. If you haven't seen it and you're in Chattanooga or the area, you have to come down here and see this studio space. What a wonderful public service this is for the Chattanooga Public Library to provide to our community. This is amazing. We were just shortly, maybe 30 minutes ago, upstairs on the 4th floor, and we participated in the Chattanooga Technology Council's April Connect Luncheon. And the topic today for that luncheon was cloud journey. We had some fantastic panel speakers, and actually that event was recorded and will be released as part of this podcast as well, as part of this podcast series. So with me right now in the studio are a couple of special guests, and the goal here is just to sort of talk about technology in the Chattanooga community and how vendors and IT companies and private companies can all come together and collaborate through organizations like the Chattanooga Technology Council. So with me today is Carla Askonas. She's the Executive Director of Chattanooga Technology Council.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And also David Gaston, who is Senior Director of Servers and Software Americas for HPE. How bad did I do right there?
You nailed it. Thanks so much. Just think ProLiant servers, the world's best-selling servers. But yeah, it's great to be up here in beautiful Chattanooga. And you're right about this facility. What an amazing investment in the community and the business environment to have this world-class recording studio, podcast studio, right here as part of the library.
Yeah, and I'm sure they record multiple podcasts out of here and do. I was just talking to the studio operator, and he was talking about some of the education they do out of this for the community. What an amazing thing. But okay, back to the topic. We're going to talk about the Chattanooga Technology Council and how you guys work with vendors and IT companies and all of the businesses in our area. And just for context, at today's event, HPE was the sponsor of this event, and sponsorship is something that you guys make available on a regular basis as a way for vendors and technology providers and IT companies to connect with businesses and to get the word out about their services and products. So Carla, maybe you can just talk a little bit from your perspective. How do you work with all of these organizations and accomplish your mission?
Well, thanks so much again for having me, and thank you, Josh, for moderating the program earlier today. We really appreciate also that HPE was the sponsor. I just want to start with the mission of the Chattanooga Technology Council is to connect the regional technology community to help drive economic growth. And so I think about those connections in a very broad way. We want to bring everybody together. We want to connect people across industries. Our membership is roughly 12 different major industries, but there's lots of different kinds of companies, from big enterprise corporations down to single proprietor startups. So we host a variety of educational events to bring people together, and we want to have the cross-fertilization of ideas and experiences that comes when we bring together different companies and different perspectives. So the vendors bring in a certain know-how, and the companies that hire vendors have certain experiences. And so what's exciting is when you can see them talking, making connections that are going to result in somebody's operations being improved and people solving problems together.
And you use the words connection and education. I think those are both incredibly valuable. Carla, many times I'll come to these kind of events and you'll see education is kind of translated into a sales pitch, a product sales pitch from a vendor. But what really struck me was different and compelling about today's event was the connection element of it, where you had, Josh was on stage moderating this panel of 3 of your IT leaders and essentially sharing best practices.
Exactly. And what turns me on, I'm not a tech person, I'm a manager of a nonprofit organization, is I love the diversity. We had a multinational manufacturer, We had a local trucking and service company. We had a healthcare senior living provider, and
Quite diversity there.
very
Yeah.
diverse, but in many ways they all have to cover the same bases. They all have to provide value to their company. They have to enhance communications, make sure everything is secure. There's a lot going on that the big companies are able to accomplish at a higher, more sophisticated level, but the little guys have to do that too.
And having that sense of community, and as you said, three very different organizations supporting each other, and then supporting the community will just help it grow. And that's to me, one of the intriguing things about the business you're part of, and the growth here is the business growth, the IT growth, and then supporting it with associations like this.
Yeah, I can, from InfoSystems perspective, and sort of as the marketing director, where my role a lot is public engagement, sharing the InfoSystems brand and message to businesses in this region. The Chattanooga Technology Council I see is a fantastic resource for that reason, that connection point. But a lot of our initiatives are in education and some of those things as well. The whole concept of podcasting and creating digital online content is really less about sales and more about education, engagement, and sort of giving companies the opportunity to see your personality, get to know some of the employees. I think that's a really important thing, and without organizations like the Tech Council, those opportunities are few and far between. It would be all on us essentially to do it on our own. So having a nonprofit organization who can build trust on your own, separate from all of the vendors and all of the companies and everything out there, as okay, that's the place I want to go to make connections, to network, to learn from people. I see that as a great value for InfoSystems, and so we really look for ways where we can engage with Carla and her team to connect to our local community.
Right, and it takes a lot of work sometimes. I was thinking the other day, we put together an event for CHATECH Women, which is a group that's oriented towards supporting women in technology careers. And the planning committee for that has a real passion for young women in tech and really wants to support them and connect with students. And we held an event at the end of March. I don't think we had quite 30 people there, but and it turned out that day there was a huge storm that was predicted to let loose at 5 o'clock right when our event was.
We still had 30 people there.
We still had 30 people there, and we had more who had registered, and I asked myself afterwards, was it worth it, all this effort, all this outreach we did? But then the answer to that is, if we hadn't have done it, nobody would have put in the amount of time it took to do that. And so I think that all those little efforts together, it's not just one event, it's the collective series of events that we put together that reach out to different stakeholders in our community. We didn't have any obvious students at this group, but we hope by engaging some of them in certain of our programs that will move them into the tech ecosystem, and that they will want to remain in Chattanooga to start their technology careers here.
I did notice one of the threads in today's panel discussion was one of the firms was talking about how they do technology internships, bringing them into their organization. So that just helps to foster the IT community here.
And that's one area that CHATECH is talking about, taking a larger role, helping connect employers with students, having a place where students can come to try to connect with employers. That's an idea that we're exploring.
Hey, Carla, just for some of the listeners who may not have ever attended a Chattanooga Technology Council event or engaged with your organization in any way, can you just give the full gamut of types of events and stuff you all do on an annual basis in the community? Great
question. So we have a monthly Connect educational event on a different topic every month, a topic that is significant, that will be of interest to a wide range of people at different levels in an organization. Today, the topic was Journey to the Cloud. Next month, it's business intelligence and data analytics. We're going to do something on outdoor tech later in the year, cybersecurity, kind of an introduction to blockchain at the end of the year. So we try to choose topics that will be of broad interest. And recently we have been rotating the time of day that they occur. Not everybody can leave for lunch. So some of the events are held at the beginning of the day so people can stop on their way into the office. Some of them are at the end of the day. So we usually have some kind of refreshments or a meal associated with it, because that makes everybody happy and have a good time.
Yeah. And the meal was good today, by the way.
Yeah, good food.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And that, you know, that helps people to network too, to share a meal together. So there's fun and food, and we have a significant topic, and generally the speakers are members of the Chattanooga Technology Council, corporate members who have, you know, experience in the area that we're discussing. So part of what we do during the year is trying to find out who can talk about the significant topics that will be coming up next. So anyway, we typically have a panel. We try to have 3 or 4 different perspectives, different kinds of companies who can just talk about the topic from their own experience, what their best practices are. We look for sponsors for our programs, just like HPE was today, and sometimes those sponsors provide the moderator or a panelist. So those are our monthly Connect events. We have some special forums. The CHATECH Women is one of those forums. We have a by invitation forum for the Chief Information Officers of our member companies. That's our executive forum. We have a similar forum for the Chief Information Security Officer or the highest information security manager of every of our member companies. And we just really staff the group that is a peer group for them. So they decide when they want to meet, what they want to talk about, and then we'll take care of the meeting arrangements so that they can meet about quarterly. And the Information Security Forum and the Executive Forum are a half-day meeting. So it's a pretty significant commitment of time on the part of the participants.
How does somebody get involved in that? Is that something that's you have to be approved to take part in? How would someone listening get involved in one of those summit meetings that you do?
First of all, you have to be a CHATECH member.
Yeah.
And so that CHATECH Women is open to anybody, even non-members. For the Information Security Forum and the Executive Forum, CHATECH does kind of separate out the vendor members from the other corporate members, and it's more focused on the corporate members and the exchange of their ideas.
Well, I'll tell you, for us, for Hewlett Packard Enterprise, this was incredibly valuable. And not only to talk to the community, but also to learn from the community and candidly to validate our strategy. I mean, that panel we had today, we talked about journey to the cloud as being the topic, but it really focused on hybrid IT being the reality. And you know, that is, in essence, our strategy. So it's great validation. And
you know, this is a hot topic. We did one last year. I think it was in August or September. And there was really a different theme to it this year. I think last year there was more discussion about the ways that they had moved to the cloud. And I think now the hybrid strategy was really more the theme this year. And so it's kind of interesting to hear that. And your question, Josh, about where do you see your company's ideal IT in 3 to 5 years, I thought, you know, kind of led people's thinking forward, not just the problems they're trying to solve now and this year, in this budget cycle, in this performance cycle, but kind of a bigger vision, and it validated very much what you're saying is.
Yeah, I think 18 months ago, if you'd asked that question, there would have been at least one firm up there who would have said 3 to 5 years we're going to be 100% cloud.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But now you get people out there saying, no, it's going to coexist. We're going to have a hybrid environment. And that's got to make the other IT leaders in the room feel that they're doing the right thing, that you
Yes.
know, kind of supports
Yes.
where they're headed.
Yes.
You almost always hear the response include the statement, we're always going to own some of our own equipment.
Right.
All the time. So yeah, hybrid IT is not going away. On-premise IT is not going away exclusively to the cloud. It's going to be a blended approach. You know, there's just too many good options in both scenarios to ignore one or the other and to blanket make a blanket statement of we're all in the cloud or no, we're only on premise. You're eliminating some fantastic options if you do that, if you take that mentality.
Right, and I think things are always moving and shifting, and so what people want to get out, their expectations, the performance goals, the compliance issues, those are ever changing as things go back and forth. I want to kick it back to what you were asking earlier about what CHATECH does, and I talked about our Connect events and our special forums. Part of our goal is to create a very vibrant tech ecosystem, and so one way to do that is to try to engage young people in tech careers, and there's a couple of things that we do with that. So one of our programs, and I know that in the past InfoSystems has been a big participant in this, is we give scholarships to college students in declared IT majors. Great. And we've selected 9 colleges around Chattanooga, four-year institutions, community colleges, public, private colleges, and we're focusing recruitment on those 9 colleges. And so it's a small effort, but I like to think that we have a impact bigger than our small size in reaching out to students and encouraging them to start their careers right here in Chattanooga. And we had just a great experience with that last year. One of our scholarship recipients happened to have an internship lined up with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So he received a CHATECH scholarship in June. In July, he had the opportunity to work on our coding camp, which was hosted by Blue Cross Blue Shield. So he was I think at the time, a rising senior in college, got to work with rising 7th, 8th, and 9th graders, and I think it gave him a real perspective on how far he had come when he was having to teach really novice computer users. And then CHATECH...
Really build your confidence too when you can do that.
Yeah. And then we host a developers conference in the summer called the Scenic City Summit, and it was held in July last year, and Blue Cross sent a whole lot of people, including their interns. So he had the opportunity to attend a professional conference that was also sponsored by CHATECH. And so I feel like, we had a really big impact on this one student in him being able to continue his education, to work with young people and realize how far he had come, and then to go to a professional conference and see where he could go to in the future. And he came and made some remarks about his experience at our biggest fundraiser of the year in the fall. It's called the CXO auction. And the day after that, the auction is an evening event that I didn't leave there till like 11 o'clock, so I gave myself the gift of sleeping in. And 8 o'clock the next morning, I was awoken by a colleague of mine from a local company, and she said, "I need Nathaniel's contact information. I want to interview him, and I can't talk to him until he applies." And so we had really made a direct connection between a student and an employer who wanted to meet with him. So this year we are going to invite all of our scholarship recipients to come to the Scenic City Summit. We're going to invite them all to come to the auction to meet potential employers. We're going to offer a couple of other sessions on interviewing and things to try to create more direct connections between scholarship recipients and applicants and the jobs right here in Chattanooga.
And I know that you will keep InfoSystems informed on how we can continue to support and participate in those types of events, especially the
That's
education.
Right.
One thing of note from InfoSystems, it's not easy to find highly skilled, talented tech professionals. Our education system, I won't say it's completely broken or out of touch or anything like that, but there hasn't always been the extreme focus on specifically promoting tech skills within students all the way down to even elementary education as there is right now. And I think we're moving in the right direction, but it's not easy to find and hire employees for companies like InfoSystems based here in Chattanooga. And so to have community organizations like yours who are pushing the envelope with education is a help to us and all of us, all of the companies in the community.
I think it's a help to all the member companies. It's one of the top concerns, top issues that we hear people talking about, the pipeline. And I had a very interesting conversation yesterday with some of our members, Carbon 5, who's got an office here in Chattanooga as well as San Francisco, Seattle, and a couple other places. And one of the women I was talking to made a really interesting observation. She said she thinks that Chattanooga has a hard time hanging on to people at the top of the employment scale. That people, who've worked here a few years, they're looking for creative, interesting problem solving, and the salaries in Chattanooga may not be what they are in some nearby bigger cities. And so if there's not exciting problems for people to work on and competitive salaries, we may be losing them to other communities. And I thought that was a really interesting perspective that I hadn't heard somebody articulate before. Yeah. And then the other thing that we're looking at is the gap between people who are just exiting college or a coding boot camp, needing to get some experience, and then the people who are in the 3 to 5 years of experience range. A lot of jobs, our members have told us they're looking for somebody with a little experience, and they're having a hard time finding it. So they're having to redefine their jobs and decide if they're going to scale back the job description, bring in somebody with less experience, and try to bring them up to what they need because they can't really find that mid-level. So there's lots of opportunities for us, both in bringing people to start their careers here, making sure we have the mid-range employees and people prepared to move up, and then that we have exciting challenges to keep people here.
Yeah, that whole early career hiring and then growth is absolutely critical. We found it's been one of the keys for Hewlett Packard Enterprise is doing that, and frankly, it's one of the more satisfying parts of the job when you get to work with someone who's recently hired out of college or an MBA program, and they do well, and their careers vault up, and they move to maybe in our company, maybe other companies, but the careers move up. So it's a great acknowledgement.
Well, I think a company as big as HPE is a great opportunity for a young person because there's many different places that they can plug in and grow to. And so part of what we want to do when we're working with kids in the coding camp, and sometimes we have the opportunity to talk to high school groups, is talk to them about the diversity of careers in tech, because a lot of times young people aren't really aware of the breadth of roles that people play. Not everybody is a coder, not everybody creates video games, not everybody serves as a developer or a help desk person. There's database administrators and infrastructure architects and all kinds of jobs. And so we're interested, as we talk to young people, we're interested in helping them see themselves with whatever their innate interests and skills are, what the opportunities might be for them in a tech career.
And even sales. I mean, we start a lot of our early career college hires right into a sales and inside sales role, and they go all over the company, whether it's into finance or administration, marketing, product management, et cetera.
Exactly. Yep. So I think young people who don't have a lot of exposure to that may not have the imagination to know they could start one place and end up in a totally different part of a company that meets with whatever their interests are. And we want kids to, if they're very interested in writing and expressing ideas, we want them to know that there's opportunities in marketing, sales, and creating certain things. You want people who are very logical and methodical to see themselves. People who want to, manage other people, see the management roles that are there. So there's really a lot of opportunities that leverage different skill sets, and I don't think most young people don't know that.
Yeah. Carla, you mentioned the CXO auction, which is one of your large fundraising events, and obviously as a nonprofit organization, you engage in multiple fundraising initiatives throughout the year, in addition to sponsorships of the monthly events and annual sponsorships, and one of the things that is coming up right around the corner is your annual golf tournament.
Yes.
Could you quickly plug how companies in our area can get involved in both the golf tournament and maybe the CXO auction and the value
Yes.
to those fundraising
Yeah.
initiatives for you?
Well, I think that well, first of all, CHATECH is a nonprofit organization, and our membership dues are a very, very small portion of our annual income. So we raise money by offering sponsorship opportunities in these big fundraising events. Our golf tournament is on May 8th. People can register online at chatechcouncil.org. That's CHATECHCOUNCIL.org. Or they can call the CHATECH office at 423-826-8700, and we'll sign them up for a team or tell them what sponsorship opportunities are left. We have a great golf course. People really love the Lookout Mountain Golf Club. They can come with their peers at their company. They can bring clients or individuals that they're trying to cultivate business with. It can be just a fun day. Our CXO auction is a really fun event, Josh, and I think you've been there in the past. It is based on the phenomenon that our vendor companies want to talk with our enterprise companies and trying to leverage that interest. So we get about 10 or 12 local tech leaders to volunteer their time, and we auction off the opportunity to have a 2-hour meeting or several contacts up to 2 hours with those tech leaders. And so we make a big evening out of it. We have a VIP reception, we have a dinner, we do some short videos in advance so that we can highlight what each of the tech leaders, what they're looking for in the following year in terms of services or equipment that they may need to purchase, so that the vendors who have expertise in those areas, products or equipment, can bid on the opportunity to have a meeting with that company.
And kudos to those CXOs for realizing how important this is. I mean, I'm sure it's fun for them too a little bit, but it's a commitment of their time as well.
It is a commitment of their time, right.
They realize
yeah.
how valuable it is. That's great.
Yeah, so that's been a tremendously successful event for us, and we just want to invite everybody to participate. If someone's listening to the podcast, they've never been to the CXO auction, call us, contact us. We'll get you set up with a ticket or a table or whatever it is you'd like to do.
And I'll be sure to post links to all of your Chattanooga Technology Council events, both the golf tournament, the CXO auction, all of the monthly lunches. I'll share those from the InfoSystems social accounts and also post them on our blog, especially when we're involved in them, as we were today. And as one of the things you mentioned a few moments ago was the forums. And so we also just sponsored one of the information security forums that you conducted. And, we were able to come in, have lunch with the group, spend some time networking, and give a short 5-minute presentation, just so the folks in attendance, not that they don't already know who InfoSystems is, but it's just sort of a controlled environment where I could share them some of the things that they may not know about the changes at InfoSystems over the last couple of years. So that was a very valuable experience. And once the meeting kicked off, as a vendor participant sponsor, we left before the actual meeting took place, and we respect the fact that you're providing closed-door meetings for your members, because I understand from a marketing perspective, even though being involved in that event, we would not take the intentionality of trying to sell or push or, InfoSystems, if anything, in my experience, is probably the most non-salesy company I've ever worked for. It's almost to a fault. Sometimes we fail to promote ourselves enough just because we're so concerned with coming off as salesy. But seeing that event, I know that if some of us were in the room actively participating, you can't help but share perspective based on your own personal beliefs. And in a company like InfoSystems, where you are really maybe passionate about the things you're doing and the company initiatives, it's hard not to share information that's unbiased. You know what I'm saying? So I completely respect that you're providing, not only the connect opportunities like we participated in today, where we can freely share, HPE sponsored this event, and they're participating in the entire thing. You know, myself, I moderated the event on behalf of InfoSystems, and you know, those are fantastic events that we get to participate in the whole thing. But the fact that you're also providing, on the other end of the spectrum, closed door events for your members, in my opinion, is something great. And then the events that really have nothing to do about business, like golf, even though business gets
business
done.
transpires there,
that can
right?
be about
Gets
business.
done on
Yeah.
the golf course. We all know
Yeah.
that.
Say
But
so.
it's nice to have events like that are more focused on fun and entertainment than business and education. So the variety of events that you're putting out there is fantastic. And so I would like to, you know, as a member of Chattanooga Technology Council and also sometimes sponsor, thank you for, you know, the work you're doing in the community.
That means a lot. And, you know, sometimes part of business is social. And I know that the social things that we do are opportunities for all of our members to meet other people and build trust. And so while the golf tournament is, you know, can be characterized as a fun event, people who are meeting and talking have the opportunity to build trust with people they want to get to know, and that's very important.
Sure.
And then there's something else that I haven't mentioned yet, and that is that part of our focus is promoting Chattanooga as a hub for innovation. So every fall we award the Early Innovator Award to an emerging company, early stage, not yet even $50,000 in revenue. And that gets presented at the Chamber Spirit of Innovation Luncheon. And that's a really fun event too, because that helps us kind of look into corners of our community where we may not spend a lot of our time and see what ideas are emerging. Last year we had several apps and software platforms that were recognized or highlighted. Other years there have been physical products. So that's just kind of a fun thing that we do in collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce, who's a big partner with us.
Yeah, I know, just speaking with one of the HPE guests we have in town right now, he noticed that Legacy Box, which locally we know as South Tree, is based here in Chattanooga, and he was surprised to learn that, you know, that company was based right here in Chattanooga, and that's just, you know, another example of at one point they were one of those less than $50,000 in revenue startups. You know, I know the guys that started the company. What they do is, for anyone who may not know, they transfer analog content. So if you have old VHS tapes and reel-to-reel tapes and negatives of photos that you took back in the, you know, the ancient times of the 1980s and prior to that, they transfer those that media into a digital format and send it back to you. And you know, they started up in such a small operation with just a couple of guys, and the company is fantastic now. But that's just a testament to where Chattanooga as a technology hub has come, that we're able to support local entrepreneurs through programs. You know, there's tons of programs in Chattanooga. It's not just the Tech Council, countless programs to help support tech startups and nurture them to where they become those types of successful companies.
Right.
And you know, so Chattanooga as an innovation hub is, I mean, would you describe it as burst onto the scene? I mean, I think we're getting national recognition now.
We're definitely getting national recognition, and one thing that I think is a real strength for Chattanooga compared to coastal communities is that we are a small town, and people collaborate really well in Chattanooga. Yeah. I've lived here for 27 years, and in my nonprofit work I have seen people collaborating, but I think even in the startup community, people are trying to work together, and when you learn what I'm doing, then you share it with Josh, and people try to work and support one another and raise everybody up. And that's a lot of fun to be a part of that vibe. Yeah. There's not people trying to undercut, in my experience, undercut emerging businesses. They're trying to figure out from a lot of different perspectives, how can we lift them up? How can we be the community that people want to move to start their business? We've got a fun downtown area. We've got a great natural environment. It takes more than that to nurture the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And I like to think that CHATECH is one little piece of something that makes people feel if they come to Chattanooga, there's ways that they can connect with other professionals. We've got CoLab, we've got all kinds of other services. The Edney Center, which is the Edney Building, which is the center of our innovation district, is a piece of what it is that makes Chattanooga a good place to start a business.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a fantastic place to wrap up the conversation today. But just before we sign off officially, Carla, this podcast from InfoSystems, Business and Technology in Tennessee, is really a community-focused podcast. The idea is to talk with maybe some of our vendors that help InfoSystems do business, like Hewlett Packard Enterprise, organizations like Chattanooga Technology Council, and I'm even bringing in guests from some of the startup companies around town, and really the goal is to just help evangelize and spread the word about the tech scene and technology and Chattanooga, our local region. And it's not just the city of Chattanooga. This is happening all around our region, yes. All the way, they call Knoxville down through Chattanooga the Innovation Corridor, and that may extend beyond Knoxville. You've got Oak Ridge in that territory. It's just a fantastic place for technology innovation. And so, providing this podcast is really a resource to the community to hear cool stories. And so I think the things you've shared today has been some excellent information for those who may not be as familiar with the Tech Council as I am. So, but knowing that this podcast is intended for kind of the business audience around our region, is there any last comments or thoughts you would like to share out to those folks?
Sure. Well, I would like to invite anybody who's listening to the podcast to join the Chattanooga Technology Council. There's not a regional restriction to our membership. We have members from Nashville and Atlanta and Knoxville. And so you can get online at chatechcouncil.org, join. We'll send you information about all of our events. By being a member, you're supporting the entirety of the work that we do, including our outreach to students. And if you live in the region and can get to our events, I think that's really the biggest benefit of being a member, being able to attend events. Many of our local events are free, not the golf tournament, not the CXO auction, but many of our monthly Connect events, since they're sponsored, don't cost anything for members to attend. Yeah. And so having
yes.
Having the opportunity to meet people like David with his expertise, get connected to companies that really offer a broad range of services, like InfoSystems, is a real benefit, and gets people out of their offices. It gets their creative juices flowing. They hear I think it must be tremendously comforting to somebody to hear the panel, hear that they don't have all the problems worked out, that it's all still a work in progress. So, that's the kind of thing that we want to do. Provide support, do a little information transfer, and really, in a lot of ways, this is about community development. Yeah. The context is just our technology community. Sure. Connecting people, helping everybody grow, get connected to educational resources and people.
And thank you, Carla, and thank you, Josh. HPE looks forward to supporting a future event and being involved with you in a future event.
Yeah, and thank you very much, David Gaston, once again, Carla Askonas. Thank you all very much for taking the time to spend a little bit of your day with me talking and promoting yourselves through the InfoSystems podcast. Hopefully this becomes a valuable resource for the community. Whether or not it does, I'm just going to keep doing it because I like doing it.
I think you should.
I think it's good at it too.
I think it's a great service.
Thank you all very much, and have a great day.